Good morning. I'm Natalie Kahn, your worship associate for today's service. Like many of you, I have been resting in the arms of ambiguity for quite some time now. Decisions such as, should I stay in? Should I go out? And if I go out, is it just to the grocery store? Should I keep my doctor appointments? Should I have lab tests? And perhaps the most difficult of all, should I be with my loved ones for more than just a Skype or a Zoom call? This is the one most troubling for me, and rather than making me feel like I am resting in the arms of ambiguity, I feel like I'm undergoing a monumental internal struggle, more like wrestling than resting. What are the chances I should take, and what is the price for whichever one I choose? Is a threshold the same as a crisis? And what is a crisis anyway? And how do I incorporate it into my spiritual practice? Well, last week was Mother's Day and also my grandson's 9th birthday. With so many unmasked children and adults touching and hugging and in extremely close contact, including a grandparent, a son, and many grandchildren, it was not an easy decision whether to show up or not. When encountering thresholds, we often talk as if our work is that of successfully passing through them. We speak of making healthy transitions. We seek out advice and support as we decide which thresholds to lean into and which to resist. But rather than making my decision more clear, it only served to make it more painful and confusing. In the end, I decided to quarantine myself and stay home. Thanks to my daughter-in-law, I got to see pictures she took of all the festivities of both the birthday party and Mother's Day. Except for that one act of kindness, I was isolated from every activity. Not even a FaceTime phone call from my son and his children. I felt so separated and cut off and forgotten about. And now that the country is opening up in many places and to varying degrees, Roy and I have decided to visit my grandson this weekend, taking as many distancing precautions as possible. We'll bring a picnic lunch, 6 feet apart, we'll stay out of the house, we'll wear masks, we won't spend the night there. Is this an overabundance of caution, or perhaps not enough? We are trying to make our goal one of successfully moving from here to there. Am I on the horns of a fatal dilemma? Am I a coward? Am I brave? What kind of chances should I take? And what is the price for whichever path I might choose? Whether this path is defined as physical, intellectual, emotional, or spiritual, it is not necessarily a gradual transition in our lives. It really can be a crisis. And whether what we define as powerful and a significant event or a moment in our lives as a crisis, whatever a crisis is, the best advice that I can give or take is to decide this, that in the moments that you have left, that you keep moving forward, even if moving forward turns out to be less traveling and more listening. If you have a chalice at home, I invite you to light yours along with mine. Let's light the chalice together. The words for today's chalice lighting is a quote from Joseph Campbell. The familiar life horizon has been outgrown. Ideals and emotional patterns no longer fit. The time for the passing of a threshold is at hand.
If I was free, I wouldn't be so keen to go. If I was wrong, I would take it like a man. If I was smart, I would get out while I can. If I was broken, I would probably let it be. If I was dying, I wouldn't go out quietly. If I was lost, well, my heart would feel the same. If I was honest, I would probably be ashamed. But if I were you, I would notice me. If I were you, I would wait for me. If I were you, I would easily hold me and say, it's all gonna be okay. If I was rich, I would spend it on my own. If I was dignified, I'd only smoke at home. If I was dark, well, I'd only dress in black. If I was chosen, I would gladly give it back. But if I were you, I would notice me. If I were you, I would wait for me. If I were you, I would easily hold me and say, it's all gonna be okay. It's not for you to judge from all this kind of stuff. I'm only half of what you see. But if I were you, I would notice me. If I were you, I would wait for me. If I were you, I would easily hold me and say, it's all gonna be okay. It's all gonna be okay.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Santa Monica. I am the Reverend Kikanza Nuri-Robins, and I am a member of this wonderful congregation. Reverend Jeremiah Kalende is our minister, and he is taking a much-needed and well-deserved rest. Natalie Kahn is our worship associate today. Cleo Anderson is the Director of Religious Exploration. Sonder Choi is our uber-talented Director of Music. Ryan Humphrey is our extraordinary instrumentalist. And we are treated each week with exceptional vocalizations by our choir and section leaders. All of these people Join together with those who are unseen behind the scenes, doing a lot of the technology to bring this worship service to you. We are grateful for all of them. Unitarian Universalism is not defined by creed or dogma, but is guided by principles that affirm the worth and dignity of every person and encourages the individual search for truth and meaning. We honor the wonder of existence and affirm that we are all connected to each other and to the independent web of life. We are a congregation made of people who believe in God, people who don't, people who are content to live in the mystery, and people who will never stop searching for answers. This is a place where you can bring your whole authentic self, because you are welcome here. Whether today is the first time that you have come or you have been coming for decades, you are welcome here. One advantage of being on this Facebook live stream is that you can share this service with a friend once it's over. And immediately after the service, you can join us for our virtual coffee hour. So sit back, make yourself comfortable, get another cup of coffee. Welcome.
Will not let me be. Help me. I won't speak of this ache inside. Light eludes me in the silence of my heart. I'm praying. I keep on day by day, trusting light will guide me. Will you be with me through this time? Help me. You're my hope when I fear. Holding on, believing, deep inside I pray I'm strong. Blessed be.
Let's recite our covenant together. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship. Thus do we covenant with each other.
From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land, by every tongue.
Good morning. So today's story is about patience. Now, no one has had more patience than Marisol and Leticia. Well, according to them, no one has more patience. You see, their favorite thing about Christmas are the tamales. And last year, Abuela said they could help make tamales the next Christmas Eve. So on December 23rd, they woke up bright and early, brushed their teeth, combed their hair, and ran downstairs, thinking they'd be met with good smells and laughter, and everyone was just sort of sitting at the kitchen table having coffee. And Letty is very confused. Well, why aren't we cooking? And Abuelita says, have some patience. We have to have coffee and then go to the store and just wait. So the girls wait and have their breakfast cereal and play hopscotch in the backyard, and then finally they head to the store. The line is around the building, and both girls groan. But they wait. Tia Luisa tells them stories about having to make tamales when she was a little girl before the joy of pre-cut corn husks and steamers to help. And they laugh and joke about how different it is being little girls now versus then. And then finally, after a long wait, they're in the store and they have to wait in line for masa. And then they have to wait in line to get pork from the butcher. And they have to wait in the line that's wrapped around the station with all the corn husks. And they're just so tired of waiting. But finally they're done. And they're in the cars, and they're laughing, and they're joking, and Tia Maria says, why don't we make a pit stop? And they drive through the Tasty Freeze, and everyone gets ice cream, and we just say, we won't tell the boys. Muddy and Letty laugh because their dads aren't boys, but they have ice cream. And so they finally get home. And they're going, great, so now we can start cooking. Actually, Abuela says, here are corn husks. Separate them. Put some water on to boil. We don't get to, season the meat or stir the pot. Tia Luisa says, girls, just be patient. The corn husks need to start before anything else. And so they turn on the electric kettle. And they microwave water, and they boil water, and they pour it all into big Tupperware containers and gently lay the corn husks in, and they wait. And while they're waiting, Abuelita tells stories about when she was a girl in Mexico, and Mommy tells stories about when she first met their father, and they have a good time, and then they start chopping up meat, and they start opening bags of cheese and soaking beans, and the girls are still a little impatient. They want to eat. They really want to get into the thick of things. But finally, they're handed a big bowl of masa, spoons, corn husks, and are told, start spreading. And for the next hour and a half, that's what they do. Spoon after spoon of masa, spread out evenly on corn husks, filling placed in the middle, folded up, tied with corn husk bits, which cut their fingers a little bit. And they ask, are we finally ready to eat these? No. Then they have to be put in a steamer, but you have to wait for the water to boil. And the girls are like, oh no, we have to wait for more water to boil. And Abuelita says, well, do you have change? The girls say, yeah, we have piggy banks. Each of you go get a coin. And so they do, and they come back, and she's like, this will make the waiting more fun. She tells the girls to turn around, and they do. She turns on the water, and she says, when you hear the music, the water is boiling. And so the girls wait. But instead of talking, they keep listening and listening. And then it sounds like bells coming from the pot. And Abuelita says, "Ah, the water's boiling. It's time to add the tamales." And the girls are very confused, and she says, "When I was a little girl, instead of watching and taking off the pot lid to let out all the steam, if you put a coin in the bottom and you wait for it to dance, you'll know the water is boiling." And the girls laughed and giggled and thought this was great. And they gently helped lower all the different flavored tamales into the pot and waited some more. But this time the waiting didn't seem quite so bad. They sat at the table and they listened to stories, and their moms slid them some hot chocolate, and the tamales were finally done, and everyone in the family sat down to eat, and their dads were complimenting the tamales and how evenly they were. The girls didn't think that the waiting was so bad. They learned that pots can sing. They learned about their grandmother's life growing up. They got ice cream. Maybe the waiting wasn't quite as bad as I thought.
One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us and everyone. Will take one more step. One more word, we will say one more word, till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word. One more prayer, we will say one more prayer, till every prayer is shared by everyone. We'll say one more prayer. One more song, we will sing one more song, till every song is sung by everyone. We'll sing one more song.
This is a time for coming together as community to share our joys and sorrows. If you have a joy or a concern, a sorrow, large or small, that you would like to share with our community, please call the office or send us an email so that we can share your news with one another. This week, we want to report that Diana Spears was able to celebrate Mother's Day with her mother because on May 4th, Marguerite Spears celebrated her 103rd birthday. So happy birthday, Marguerite, and blessings upon you, Diana, that you got to spend one more Mother's Day with your mother. Blessings upon all of you who have birthdays this month, who celebrated the memory of or the presence of the people who mothered you. Although not much news came to the office for us to share with you this week, we know that there are things on your heart, in your home, in our world that we must be mindful of. So I invite you to move to that space within you where peace resides and to listen to this blessing. It is a blessing for when the world is ending. Look, the world is always ending somewhere. Somewhere the sun has come crashing down. Somewhere it has gone completely dark. Somewhere it has ended with the gun, the knife, the fist. Somewhere it has ended with the slammed door, the shattered hope. Somewhere it has ended with the utter quiet that follows the news from the phone, the television, the hospital room. Somewhere it has ended with a tenderness that will break your heart. But listen, this blessing means to be anything but morose. It has not come to cause despair. It is simply here because there is nothing a blessing is better suited for than an ending. Nothing that cries out more for a blessing than when a world is falling apart. This blessing will not fix you, will not mend you, will not give you false comfort. It will not talk to you about one door opening when another door closes. It will simply sit itself beside you among the shards and gently turn your face toward the direction from which the light will come, gathering itself about you as the world begins again. Let us reflect in silence about our world that has ended and the world that is beginning. Every spiritual tradition has stories that explain the inexplicable, stories that answer questions for which there are no certain answers, or that give meaning in the stories that connect to the values of the people. The story of Noah's Ark is such a story in Islamic and Jewish and Christian sacred writings. The story of Noah's Ark answers several questions. What happens when God's messengers are ignored? Will this horrible season of rain wipe out the whole world? Why do we have rainbows? The story goes like this. God created Adam and Eve. They were fruitful and multiplied. When reading sacred writings, I find it does not serve to get caught up in the rational details. It's a story. Often these stories require a willful suspension of disbelief. So you go for the message, not the facts. So God created Adam and Eve. They were fruitful, they multiplied, the world was filled with people. In this story, the people of the world forgot about their Creator. They stopped being kind to one another, and they stopped listening to God's messenger, the prophet Noah. Noah reported to God that he couldn't get the people to listen. God said, well, maybe I made a mistake with this batch. I think I'll start over. So then, kind of like a sourdough starter works, God decided to save a few of the people and the animals to start over on the next batch. So he chose Noah and his family, and he instructed them to choose a breeding pair of each animal and to build a boat large enough to hold them all. So Noah did that, and he even invited some of his neighbors to join them. Most of them refused. Even one of Noah's sons said, no, it's not going to rain that hard. I'll just stay right here. And then the rains came. They came for 40 days and 40 nights. And then the land stayed flooded for 40 more days. So you can probably imagine how tired the people were of being on the boat, of being with one another, of the interminable bad weather. But finally, the sun came out, But Noah wasn't sure there was anywhere to go once they got off the boat. So in the book of Genesis, we read, after 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven. And it kept flying back and forth because the water had not dried up from the earth. Then Noah sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water all over the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. Noah waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there was a freshly plucked olive leaf in its beak. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time the dove did not return. So Noah knew it was safe to leave the ark and begin rebuilding. And here we are. Depending on your news source, some say it's still raining. Others say it's still flooded and you need to keep your impatient self on the ark. For a few, the ark has landed. For some, there never was an ark. And for many, we're sending out birds waiting to see what the birds are going to come back. So whatever phase you think we are in, the post-pandemic dystopian society we are about to enter is not the same as the society that we experienced in February. Family relationships have been strengthened or disintegrated. People are out of work. Businesses have collapsed. Healthcare workers have risen in status. We have learned new ways to socialize, to serve clients, to worship together, to affirm and support community. Many of us have never been through anything like this. The oldest of us may have been children during the Great Depression, and their children may remember World War II rationing and fear of polio. Baby boomers may remember getting polio shots and learning to duck and cover in case of nuclear war. Then in the 80s and the 90s, there was the AIDS epidemic. I remember interviewing a man who had moved out of Los Angeles recently because 65 of his friends had died in a very short period of time. People who were in New York or away from home when the World Trade Center towers came down still talk about the trauma of that morning and the post-trauma after effects that still impact our lives. We all know that after something horrible has happened, that things will be different. But we can't predict what will be different or how. We're occupying liminal space. We're not what we were. We're not what we're going to be. We're moving through the spongy grayness of ambiguity. One of the characteristics of liminality is the anxiety that it produces. We don't know, and it scares us. We fear the truth before we actually know what the truth is. So if you are sitting with anxiety, know you are not alone. If you are an awfulizer, imagining how terrible things are yet to be, if you are an unrepentant positive thinker, certain we will be better for having gone through this, if you are a conspiracy theorist saying there was no emergency ever, take heart in knowing that none of us really knows. That most of us, just like Noah on the ark, have no idea what will happen once we get off the boat. Thomas Wolfe once wrote, "You can't go home again," and it's true. Even if you go home, home will be different. And you will be different. So as you prepare to emerge from your metaphorical ark, or you choose to sit and wait until the waters truly recede, prepare yourself for a world that can't be imagined. Prepare for changes that you will welcome and changes you will abhor. What matters most is the management. Just as you had to learn to manage yourself while at home, you'll need to learn to manage yourself in this new world. We cannot really manage the change. We can only manage ourselves in the midst of changes, especially changes that occur without our consent or consultation. The hardest part of managing change is staying vigilant during the transition. So as David White suggests, start close in. Start with the ground you know, the pale ground beneath your feet, your own way of starting the conversation. Start with your own question. Follow your own voice. Take a small step, a step that you can call your own. Be humble, be focused, and be willing to be surprised. Noah and his family were surprised by the rainbow that appeared. Why do we have rainbows? If we continue reading in Genesis, God said to Noah, "This is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all life on earth." And Noah replied, "Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between the mystery that we call God and all living creatures on the earth." So step out carefully, my friends. Don't be in too much of a hurry, and whether you look from dry ground or from your windowsill, look for your rainbow. Look for signs of hope and promise for a good tomorrow. Blessed be.
We come together for more than ourselves. Today we share 50% of the offering with the UUA's COVID-19 Pandemic Response Fund. This fund will be used to provide financial assistance to UU congregations as well as religious professionals and staff impacted by this crisis. You can now text your donation from your smartphone. Text 844-982-0209 with the amount you would like to donate and GCC in the body of your text. For example, 20 GCC. The first time you give, you'll be asked to register. The number again is 844-982-0209. If you have not yet provided a pledge of support for our church, you can provide a pledge via text as well. For example, 200 PLG. Please support our church community during this time of exceptional stress, loss, and financial uncertainty. Thank you for your generous support.
Oh, gather up the brokenness and bring it to me now. The fragrance of those promises you never dared to vow. beneath this teaching to the broken heart above. Oh, let the heavens falter, let the earth proclaim, come the healing of the altar, come healing of the name.
Be dark with storms and burdens weigh my heart. Though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can't go on when sorrow heals my soul.
This service is over, and now our service to the world continues. So we invite you to join us right here on Facebook for our virtual coffee hour. and then go. Go to your homes, go to your living room, go to your kitchen, go to your friends and family, go to your movies. But go knowing that no matter how alone you are or who you are surrounded with, you are going in community. You are going into a future that is unknown. You are going with the blessing of a universe that has been here for longer than we can imagine and will probably be here long after we leave. So go knowing that you matter and that you can make a difference, whoever you are, wherever you are in our world. Blessed be. Go in peace, my friends.